I created this video because we wanted to give people an insight into alternative dispute resolution, which in this context is mediation. HMRC have now made this business as usual, so taxpayers can use this service, and there has been a successful pilot scheme to back it up as well. So we wanted to give people really a look and feel as to what a mediation day is about. And this is really a documentary style, fly on the wall experience of the build up and the actual mediation. Both the case and the characters are fictitious, and we have used a little bit of artistic license. The first episode is set about 2 months before the actual mediation day, because there will be some uncertainty about what the options are for Mr. and Mrs. Spencer-Smith.
Have you got everything?
I think so. Did you check it?
Well, have you checked it?
Yes.
In this case, a smaller firm of accountants have asked our specialist team at BDO to give the client some advice about what the various options are.
This is the building you want, just here on the right.
This is an entrenched dispute. They feel like they've reached a stalemate with HMRC, and they don't know what to do next and where to turn. And clearly this can be quite a bewildering, anxious experience for clients. In this case, Mr. and Mrs. Spencer-Smith have already been under investigation for 3.5 years. And it's already cost them about £20,000 worth of professional fees, with no settlement in sight.
Mr. and Mrs. Spencer-Smith, can I ask you, what are you hoping to get out of the meeting this morning?
No idea.
Just to find a way to resolve this dispute with HMRC as quickly and as painlessly as possible.
Yeah, fat chance of that then.
Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Spencer-Smith.
Yes, Burungi.
Very nice to meet you.
The BDO advisor will take quite a bit of time to look through what has gone on in this case, the correspondence that has gone backwards and forwards between the revenue, and they will want to assess what the various options are going forward and be very clear about the benefits and risks of those options.
Over the last 3.5 years, we've achieved pretty much nothing and costed us a lot of money. So are we talking about some options here, or are we just wasting our time?
For Mr. and Mrs. Spencer-Smith, there will be quite a few options. I would say 4. So the main ones being the going to tribunal, which is what most people think about when a dispute has been running for many years. So is this going to court, the tax tribunal, barristers and the like? The other option is to carry on as they are, corresponding with the revenue. They will be able to possibly have a meeting with the revenue for an informal negotiation, or there is this new mediation process called alternative dispute resolution.
If we do go with ADR, what happens next? I mean, how long would the entire process take?
The next step, once we've ascertained that ADR is the right option, is that BDO would actually assist them with that application, and that would be made to HMRC. Now, there's no guarantees they'll be accepted into the process, but if they are, then they would be given a date, probably in about 4 to 6 weeks, whereby one mediation day would be set aside to try and resolve it just in that day.
Well, it's been 3.5 years to date, so does 2, 3, 4 really matter as long as we get it resolved?
Being in a room with HMRC.
Are we going to be in a room with HMRC? I mean, is that...
You would meet them initially, but you would negotiate with the mediator, so you wouldn't be talking directly to HMRC.
There is no obligation for the clients to be present at the mediation day, but we would encourage the clients to be there because that can be quite powerful. And often it is the first time that the revenue and the clients have been face to face.
Have you any information on that?
Really, it is up to both parties to come up with their own resolution. There isn't a judge, there isn't an arbitrator. It's up to them to discuss what the possible settlement could be.
Thank you very much for your help.
You're very welcome.
For clients, I think it is a very emotive experience, and I think for them, they can find it difficult to come face to face with somebody who's been investigating them for a very long period of time. Mediation day is probably about 2 months after a client has committed to doing the alternative dispute resolution process. There are 5 classic stages to any mediation. We're covering in the first episode the opening phase, which will usually be a very standard joint opening meeting.
Good morning. What are you hoping to achieve today?
Well, for myself, I would just like this all to be sorted out so that we can get on with our lives as quickly as possible.
I just want to make sure that these idiots know that we've been right all along, and that this has been a dreadful witch hunt.
When people arrive, clearly they are still very sceptical, even though they will have been briefed about the process. Often, depending on the complexity of the cases, they'll have lots of issues and tensions and thoughts at the start of that day.
If you want to play the good cop, you play the good cop. I am going to play the bad cop.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you feeling today? I know you had some reservations about the ADR.
Well, it is true to say I did have some reservations about ADR and indeed about filming. But I think our hope is that now we're here, we can get the Spencer Smiths to see sense, come clean, give us all the information that we've requested, and hopefully they will settle their tax bill in full.
You, Mr. Young?
Yeah, I'm feeling positive. It's a huge step forward. We have a large backlog of cases, so hopefully this can speed things up. Yeah, good. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, hi, I'm the mediator. I'm just setting up. We've got a really, really long day ahead of us, but I am really confident we can resolve this today. So, yeah, about to get everybody in the room together for the first time, which could be interesting. Anyway, I better get on with it. Thank you.
At the start of the mediation day, there will be a joint opening meeting with everybody present.
Oh, good morning. I'm Anne Stee. I'm your mediator
Mr.
for the
Spencer
day.
Smith.
Yeah,
Morning.
very good to meet you both.
This is the first time that the clients, the taxpayers, have come face to face with their investigators, if you like. And that can be a very difficult, tense experience.
Thank you all for agreeing to the mediation process. I just want to stress that this is a confidential process. All conversations are without prejudice so that we can freely discuss different settlement options. I'm not here to judge or play adjudicator. My role is to facilitate a discussion. It's your choice to reach a solution, and it's also your choice to leave the process at any point.
There needs to be very quickly some rapport building and really setting out the rules and procedures for the day, because that is the mediator's role, is to control the day.
Let's just recap that the 3 issues under dispute are travel expenses in the company accounts, a large project to build an extension and refurbish the business premises, 4 other individuals on the payroll. Are we all in agreement?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Good. I realise that this is a very emotive situation, so I suggest we move into our separate rooms as quickly as possible. Thank you. Thanks.
So the next phase of the day is the exploration phase, whereby both parties are starting in their separate rooms, and the mediator is going to spend quite a bit of time with each side separately, trying to ask them open questions to explore the issues in more detail.
Is it okay for us to use first name terms?
Yes, of course.
Great, okay. Now this is a chance for us to explore the issues in more detail.
At this stage, there's no mention of possible solutions. It's purely getting to know them, trying to draw out some new information and explore what has gone on for the last 3.5 years.
Fiona,
Yes.
how are you feeling at this point?
Oh, stressed. Frustrated because I haven't really been concentrating on the business as much as I should, and also I've not been able to dedicate as much time to do the work that means most to me, which I've found very frustrating.
And what is it that means most to you?
Oh, well, I'm heavily involved in charity work.
Charity work?
Yes.
Well, this is fantastic because the mediator here has a new nugget of information which is going to be very valuable in the later stages of the mediation. She's clearly starting to understand what is driving Mr. and Mrs. Spencer Smith. This hasn't come out in correspondence previously, so good open questions, reflecting back, clarifying the details, and also probing them to actually find out what has gone on behind the scenes.
I don't believe your business is anything to do with...
Oh, no, it's completely separate.
No.
Yeah, I see. Okay, so, but this charity is obviously very important to you, Fiona. Could you tell me a little bit more about it?
Yes, of course. Well, it all started because, unfortunately, our son was heavily involved.
Sorry, do we really need to bring out all our dirty washing and lay it all out on the table?
I think it's
why don't I just do that now and lay everything out on the table, all the dirty washing straight out? Why don't we
Actually,
just
is
get
it
it all
not
ready
important
for
that she has a full picture?
What? Well, that's important as well, is it?
Well, I think it is. Can I please continue? Right, thank you. Sorry. As I was saying, our son got heavily involved with drugs, and he decided to sleep rough, and now we have no idea where he is. So on the back of that, because I have first-hand experience, I felt I wanted to set up a homeless shelter for youths in a similar situation to my son.
I see.
So that's how it all began.
A homeless shelter?
Yes.
And where is this homeless shelter?
Well, it's in part of the extension that we've had.
Let me just clarify the extension. We used the extension and built it for business purposes. At the moment, we have furnished 3/4 of the premises, and it's used with business furniture, obviously, and this quarter has not been used at all. It hasn't been finished yet.
Okay.
So that's the bit that's being used, just to clarify that.
But just to clarify, you are using part of the business extension as a homeless shelter?
Currently.
Yes.
Thank you. Is it okay if we use first names?
Well, yeah, I do.
Mr. Blood, I'm aware that you have some reservations about this process.
Oh, reservations, yes, I would say that is something of an understatement. It is a complete and utter waste of time.
Well, I think you really should have some trust in me and the process. This is the beginning of the day, and we're only at the start.
We're now entering the 4th stage of the process, which is the bargaining stage. And here the mediator will start to increase the intensity, really, of the whole process and the day, and be more challenging, because this is about both sides starting to think about possible solutions, looking forward to try and work out, can they really settle this in one day?
I would like to start off by focusing on 2 of the disputed issues that are holding this whole process up. Firstly, the costs for your extension, which were £1 million, which is a high figure.
Yes, but the extension was built not to the extension to the home. It was built purely for business. So it's a business premises. And that's exactly what we built it for, and that's exactly what it's used for.
Yeah, and we did have numerous quotes, and this one was one of the most reasonable.
Yeah.
Still a high figure. And secondly, you have travel expenses for £250,000, which again is a very high figure.
We've been doing a lot of travelling to try and grow and develop the business.
I would like you to make an offer in terms of these travel expenses for me to then give to Mr. Blood and Mr. Gain.
Well, we did discuss this,
Yeah,
didn't
we did. We said 10%.
10%?
Yeah.
You feel that's a reasonable offer?
Yes, I think that's a reasonable offer, yeah.
So if you were in Mr. Blood or Mr. Gain's shoes, you'd go, yeah, 10%, that's a reasonable offer.
I would say they've made a reasonable offer.
As you can see, the mediator has to challenge one of the offers from one party. And this is often the case because rather than taking a ridiculous offer from one side to the other, there does need to be a reality check. Otherwise it would undermine the whole process and also the integrity of the mediator.
A high proportion of these travel expenses relate to travel to and from Spain and in and around Spain.
Well, we do have a holiday home in Spain.
Well, we have a premises, a home in Spain.
You have a premises, a home in Spain?
Yes, indeed.
But as far as I knew, you don't actually have any business interests in Spain.
No, but every time we've been there, we've been trying to build interest in Spain and expand into that market.
Yes, it's all about networking, you see.
Networking.
And we've
Lots
been
of
emailing
networking.
from the premises, we've been letters, we're going to go out to see people.
So if I was to lay out all your travel expenses out on the table,
Yeah.
how many of them would relate to weekends and holiday periods?
Mostly all of them.
So if this was to go to court and you had to swear under oath, how many of these business expenses would you be happy to claim under oath? I would like you to reflect on what we've just been talking about. I'm going to give you an hour and I'm going to leave the room. And I would like you to come up with an offer, a fair and reasonable offer for me to then take to Mr. Blood and Mr. Gain. I'll see you both in an hour. Thank you.
The idea of leaving the room is very important. It's quite a powerful statement without saying anything. It actually gives the mediator some time out to take a breather, but also it forces the side that's made a ridiculous offer to actually sit there and reflect and consider what they're doing.
What are you prepared to offer in terms of travel expenses to Mr. Blood and Mr. Gain?
Well, given what's been discussed, we feel that 80% is a reasonable offer.
Okay. I've had a very productive meeting with Mr. and Mrs. Spencer-Smith, and we've made a lot of progress. The feedback for the meeting is they're prepared to reduce their travel expenses by 80%. In terms of the extension, they're prepared to reduce their expenses by 10%. And in terms of the payroll, there has been a clerical error and the deceased relative will be taken off the payroll system immediately. How do you feel about these offers?
Well, it's a positive step towards resolving the case, and I'm pleased that the Spencer Smiths are being realistic about their claims.
I'm not sure realistic is the word that I would use. That's something that I want you to take that up.
Okay, yeah. All right, regarding the charity work, I'm prepared to look into this for them and offset some of that against the period that they claim the extension was used for this purpose.
Yeah, but let's be absolutely clear here. Any concession that we make has to be subject to us receiving all necessary paperwork that actually proves that these premises are being used in this way and not another fairy tale.
Mr. Blood, a little bird has told me that you're hoping to retire over the next few months.
Yes, he is.
Therefore, I would imagine it would be really beneficial to resolve this case today.
Well,
good. So you both agree that we can move forward to draft a settlement?
Totally.
yes.
During the concluding phase, there'd be a lot of time spent looking at the details of a settlement agreement. So what are the specific tax points? What are the solutions to each of the issues that we discussed at the start of the day? What does this mean in terms of the amount of tax, interest, penalties that they have to pay? When are they going to make the payment? So all the finer details will be discussed.
I just want to say thank you all for a very productive and constructive day. I know it's been quite stressful and a very, very emotional time for all of you, but we've achieved a huge amount, so thank you. And I have the settlement. What I need is for both parties to sign it. I need both of you to sign it, Mr. and Mrs. Spencer-Smith, and then I need Mr. Blood to sign it as well. So if you could sign it here and also down here.
Here we see both parties sign the settlement agreement.
And if I could also pass it over to you. And again, if you could sign it in both these places. Thank you.
Also, very important for HMRC, we see the cheque payment being made, which is a key driver for this whole programme of using mediation to resolve tax disputes. It's actually getting tax that has been postponed paid into Revenue and Customs.
Mrs. Spencer-Smith, if you would like to make payment. Mr. Gay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I hope you have good journeys home. Very good to meet you, Mrs. Spencer-Smith.
Nice to
And
meet
you as well, Fiona.
Thank you very much for all
My
your help.
absolute pleasure.
Clearly, after a lot of scepticism, the client can actually see the result at the end of the day, and probably there's just relief.
Enjoy your retirement. Thank you.
Still, making a huge tax payment to HMRC is not done with joy. It is often done begrudgingly. And for the inspector, they may feel that actually they could have squeezed a bit more tax out of the client had they taken them to court. I hope you can see from this film that actually there are lots of ways to resolve a dispute with HMRC, and it does need that specialist advice to come in, particularly with long-running inquiries, to have a fresh pair of eyes to say these are the risks and the benefits of each option. And if alternative dispute resolution is going to be used, then clearly there needs to be a lot of structure and control given to the day. And if it's used effectively, then it can be a very cost-effective and time-saving way of resolving this backlog of inquiries.